let's hear more on digital innovation from Mr. Hastag Shah, Regional Commercial Leader from Schneider Electric. He is a marketer and digital transformation leader with over 11 years of experience in the electrical and building automation industry. Originally from India and having studied and worked in Australia, Mr. Hastag now calls Singapore home and is driving partner business transformation across the APAC region, enabling them to build and deliver solutions and services for more green and digital buildings. Mr. Hastag, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gauri, for the introduction, and thank you to everyone who's joined as well and taken time to discuss and learn about this important topic, right? And thank you, Siki, as well to give me this opportunity to speak. I think we're all living in a let's say, for the lack of the right word, crazy times, right? The pandemic is taking toll on public health, on livelihood of many people, and to some extent even the well-being of some people as well. All said and done, I see there are positives that have come out of it, right? We are finding new ways to work, probably more digitally now. For a constant traveler like me, I'm actually getting to spend a lot more time with my family, which I'm really cherishing right now. I don't know, and I hope that there won't be as much travel going forward. But if you've seen the trend, and if you all invest in equities and in companies and in stocks, you will see that despite all of these doom and gloom and pandemic, the stock market and especially the tech stocks have grown exponentially over this period of time. And we all know why, right? Or we can guess at least that they have been already ahead in curve in terms of the business adaptability, in terms of being agile, in terms of pivoting to the new business models, or they already had the right business model in place that became conducive in this time. And so this is very important right now, and so our topic of digital transformation or business transformation in digital economy is quite important in the current times. So what is digital transformation, right? The most common definition I see is that it is a way to create new or to modify existing business process, culture, customer experiences to meet the changing business and market requirements, right? And to reimagine business to some extent in this age of digital in this current age. Another good definition I found from a global research firm, IDC, was around, and specifically targeted on the SMEs or small and medium business or small and medium enterprise, is that it's a digitalization of the business, but with a customer-centric strategy. And this is, you will see this theme in my presentation as well, is that adopting digital, focusing on the customer. So bringing more of an outside-in view, not just internal digitization, but also digitalization in the sense that we can do more with our customers, for our customers, and in turn grow the business. And this could be, but is not limited to, adopting digital technologies like cloud, mobility, Internet of Things, analytics, and other things. But in the end, we want to have better engagement with our customers, with our partners, and also our employees, right? At the end of my presentation, I want you all to take away with these 5 pointers or 5 key takeaways, is that, it's always think about a customer-focused digital strategy. Think of, there's a very, let's say in the gig economy, there's a very common word called XaaS or XaaS, which is everything as a service, right? Think of what in your business can you extend to not just sell as a product and forget about it, but how you can serve your customers for the same products going forward as well after that. How you can create more services, more business, so that you can be in regular touch with your customers, and at the same time, win repetitive business. And once you tie something to a service, it's a recurring business. Collaboration or partnership. Finding businesses that are complementing your products, your services, and how you can join hands with them to provide a package of services to your customers. Maybe you can then grow with their customer access, their customer base, and they can grow with yours. So how you can think of how you can collaborate with your partner and other businesses in the market. customer engagement or customer success. You might think of having one or two of your sales team or someone to it's a very common practice in the big companies these days, where we talk about customer success management, whereby we have a dedicated person looking after your big accounts, your big customers, who can constantly be in touch with them to see how their business is evolving and how you can then provide more solutions, more services to them on an ongoing basis, right? So it's what we call the customer success management. And third, which I believe Vijay as well mentioned, is omnipresence, is how you can be serving your customers in more than one place. It's no more, it is gone are the days when you are selling your products by visiting the customer or by waiting for the POs to come in. You have to be present everywhere. E-commerce, you can, for smaller businesses on through Shopify e-commerce, through Facebook, Instagram stores, and a lot of other ways that you want to be present, you want to be in touch with your customers to generate the demand and to have that business going on, right? A very interesting study was done in 2020 in the middle of this whole pandemic by IDC and Cisco as well, whereby they were trying to understand for APAC businesses. There were about 1,400 businesses that were surveyed across APAC in close to, I think, 12 plus countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, China, and all of them. And they were categorizing businesses into 4 categories: digital indifferent, digital observer, challenger, and native. And digital indifferent is essentially the businesses that were reactive. So they were not aware, or they may not know that they have to adapt, or they may need to take on that the digital transformation journey to change their business models a little bit. Digital observers were they were aware, but they were very tactical, and they did not have a specific plan on where to go and what to change as well. A digital challenger, on the other hand, were focused on being agile. They had a strategy, but it was very short term, saying that, okay, one thing at a time, we will look at that, then we'll see what happens after that. And digital native were the ones who had a fully holistic strategy, looking at, okay, where all I need to make changes, and they had a slightly mid to long term strategy to innovate and to move their business to the next level. And it is touted that the business of transformation, the business transformation, digital transformation, could bring in at least, if not more, 3.1 trillion to the GDP of APAC countries. And this does not mean that this is contributed by these multinational companies who like the Oracles and Microsofts and like. Yes, they play a part in that, but this also means that when SMEs adopt and adapt to these new strategies, to new digital ways of working, it will also bring more revenues for them, and in turn contribute to the GDP as well. So it's not just looking at the top end of the layer, but it's the entire pyramid that we are looking at as well. And it is said that the digital native businesses see twice as much benefit in terms of revenue and productivity versus the digitally indifferent businesses, right? There are, of course, drawbacks, because the businesses may not be ready. We may have teams that may not be ready to change, or maybe lacking the digital skills, or we may not know what technology to use. And I think this is where these forums like what we are doing today may come to play and will help you looking in that direction, right? And you see here, this is showing where the countries stand, and Singapore, as we all know, was in forefront of the digital transformation strategy, but still at the digital observer phase. So, and you see all of these other countries, we think of China, we think of Japan, Australia, all these countries, Korea even, that we would think that, okay, they are much more digital than us, purely because they have better digital payment system, maybe they have better mobile development system. But here we are specifically talking about businesses and the adoption of digital within the businesses and the digital strategy of the businesses. And this where Singapore entrepreneurs were rated ahead of the zone, but there is still a lot of work to be done to go all the way to digital native, right? So these are some of the stats that were seen. Now, where I want to focus is that digital transformation as a business, the very it's a very common expression, and some may like it, some may not, but the idea is that we say that it is the expression goes like this: it's eat that elephant one piece at a time. That is so huge that you cannot do everything in one go. You need to have a 1 year and a 3 year strategy in delivering a digital transformation of the business or a business transformation to meet this digital economy. And you want to start now. You cannot wait for another year, another 3 years to do that. And the 4 areas that you can look at to make this happen is around the process transformation, business model transformation, domain transformation, and cultural or organization transformation. And I think my fellow speakers covered some of these already. What I want to highlight here is that when you talk about the process transformation, this is where you think of internal efficiencies, internal productivity, how you can increase the productivity of the staff so they have more time to do other things, to think of new ways of doing business, think of how they can interact more with the customer. If you can simplify the processes for them and reduce the paperwork, reduce the red tape in the business, you obviously can have more time on their hand to think about new ways of doing business, and which will in turn deliver the growth for you. See, as an SME, how you can include, digital payment system, how you can think of loyalty programs for your customer. It does not mean the loyalty program is not necessarily for just big organizations like American Express or Singapore Airlines and likes. Your customers are still important to you, and your products are important to them, and see how you can reward them for being in business with you over a period of time. So think about these small things as a part of your process transformation, how you can bring small changes. Business model transformation is essentially around new ways of doing business, how you can be omni-channel. The omni means basically being present everywhere, right? It's omnipresence is a very common term used. And how you can not just think about selling offline, but how you can start selling online, how you can, if you are business in retail, how you can do more Facebook Lives, set up a shop on Shopify or Instagram. And I have seen a lot of business in last 2 years that have grown from almost zero. People who lost their day jobs delved into something new during this pandemic with purely the help of internet, and these platforms have gone from 0 to 100 in no time. And they have grown their business significantly by purely leveraging the internet, by tapping the online customer base and growing their business. Here in Singapore itself, I'm talking about. Yes, a lot of them were in food industry, a lot of them were in services. And so we have to think on how, from your business point of view, whatever business you're running, how you can be omnipresent beyond just the current selling model. The other thing is around the subscription, and I say this because I come from an electrical industry. This is what I've been doing for last 11, 12 years, and how we can adapt our product-based business into subscription or services-based business. So you see the big names in market around, Amazon is one of them. I'm a big fan of Nespresso. And you see they have now started doing the subscription service for their machines. So you can literally buy a coffee machine for $1 and you pay them repeated fees. What that does is that whenever you have a subscription business, the upfront cost of your customers reduces, and you may have to take slight more risk in the beginning because you have to invest more capex on your side. But then that would mean that you have repetitive business for a longer period of time. And you may be able to then in 3 years say that, okay, your product is is now it needs to be updated. You could sell more solutions to them, and so there are different ways of doing things here. There are areas around the mobile development and cloud adoption as well, where you could invest in, and there are grants that are available for that too. We've seen one of the very important one I like is pivoting the business model. Is if, let's say, one of the very classic example, I think is let's say which we've seen, and I think a lot of us in Indian community would appreciate this, is that a lot of the restaurants, right, they would, what do they do with their existing customer base? If they want to cater them more, is that they would go into the catering business, and that's pivoting the model by selling in shop, in-house the food, to going out to the customers and selling it. And that's just one example. Suresh gave an example of small businesses, even the garland makers, how they can go from selling in their shop to selling it online. If you are selling a certain products or services, think of what else these customers need. You have, and this is where your data, what we call the big data, what we call the the data analytics or data science comes in play. Is you have the knowledge of your customer base, and how you can analyze that. Okay, this is your customer. You have a list of 1,000 customers. What else would they need, and what else from your current skill set of your or competencies of your team and the current products that you have, how you can pivot to provide slightly complementing services to them, and how you can get up with a new business model to do something differently for them, right? And all of that, to do all of that, I think what is more important, and I think Suresh emphasized quite a bit here, and there is an overlap with what Vijay mentioned, is around the upskilling and reskilling your teams, making them to think on the innovation. One of the very common trend in industry is around the ideation campaigns or hackathons. Even if you are a small business with 10 employees or 20 employees, do a workshop and think of what more can you do? What are the different ideas of businesses that you could do? You may have capital, but you may not have idea. And this is where your teams can play a role in bringing new ideas to do more businesses, and how you can also train them, leveraging the skills through the trainings with NTUC or for the IMDA trainings and other things. I personally learned a lot of agile. I did a lot of agile courses, and this is where I met Suresh as well. Is where through the IBF funding, NTUC with help of IBF is funding 90% of the courses. How for $200-300 you can get your teams trained up and get them to think in new areas and get them to be more adaptable and not be resistive to change, or not be resistive to the change in business model. And so these are the 4 areas I want to recommend highly to think about. These are some of the ideas that I can bring to you based on my experience in the industry in this region, having worked in APAC for last 6 years plus, and previously in Australia as well. I've seen the different part of the world there, where things are quite different on that big island. But these themes can definitely help the small businesses, the small and medium enterprises, to transform and be ready for the shift that is coming. So if you have not started this already, I would suggest to start working on this, build a strategy, think of places that you could start bit by bit the transformation for your business, right? And then at the end, I would leave it up to you, or the choice is yours to make, if you want to be digitally indifferent, an observer, a challenger, or a digital native, right? So it's I leave it up to you to decide on that. And so for any questions you may have, please ask through, and this is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much. And you can get in touch with me or follow me on LinkedIn, or reach out to me through my email as well. And back to you, Gauri.